Hey Ed.
Hey Ed, how you doing? Hey everybody.
Okay, so I have an infuriating story for you that you will never hear in the mainstream press. So let's get to it.
Because you asked for it.
Okay, so this story just might make your head explode, but you really need to know about it and you need to know what this means for you. So the bad news is that central banks have lost fortunes. The good news is we all get to bail them out. Yes, the free market capitalist system. And that is not the free market capitalist system. Let them go under is what I say. We need some accountability in this world. But let's be specific. What am I talking about? So I'm going to refer you to a story out of CNBC about the Bank of England, but really this story applies to all central banks, primarily Bank of England, the Federal Reserve, and the Reserve Bank of Australia, along with the central banks of all of the largest countries in the West. But let's read this story out of CNBC about the Bank of England. The Bank of England is facing major losses on its bond purchases, and it's set to get much worse. Again, this article is about the Bank of England, but we have the exact same story with all the central banks in the Western world. The Bank of England's losses on bonds bought to shore up the UK economy after the financial crisis will be materially higher than projected until the middle of the decade, according to Deutsche Bank. In late July, the central bank is estimated that it would require the UK Treasury to backstop 150 billion pounds, 189 billion US dollars of losses on its asset purchase facility, APF. The program ran from 2009 to 2022 and was designed to improve financing conditions for companies hit by the 2008 financial crisis. It saw the BOE accrue 895 billion pounds worth of bond holdings while interest rates were historically low. Okay, so again, this APF was formed in order to help out the financial industry after the great financial crisis. But they acquired these bonds at extremely low levels. And for a while there, they had a profit on their books from these bonds as interest rates remained low. But they knew that as interest rates went up, they would turn into losses. They knew it. But from 2009 to 2022, they did nothing to reduce the size of their bonds on hand. Well, now interest rates are going up and the value of those bonds are going down. What could possibly go wrong? All right, let's continue. However, the central bank began unwinding that position late last year, initially through halting reinvestments of maturing assets, and then by actively selling the bonds at a projected pace of 80 billion pounds per year from October 2022. Both the Treasury and the BOE knew when the APF was implemented that its early profits would become losses as interest rates rose. However, the pace at which the central banks has had to tighten monetary policy in a bid to tame inflation means the costs have risen more sharply than anticipated. Higher rates have driven down the value of the purchased government bonds, known as gilts, just as the BOE began selling them at a loss. Okay, so the Bank of England had to buy a bunch of bonds in order to rescue the financial industry from the 2008 financial crisis. And they kept doing that all the way up to 2022. And now they're sitting on massive losses on those bonds because they acquired the bonds when interest rates were really low. Now interest rates are going up. Now they have huge losses. And what are they going to do about it? Remember, central banks have the ability to print money out of thin air. They can just go out there and print money if they need money. But instead, they turn to the Treasury. But in this case, the BOE turned to the Treasury Department in the UK for relief. So if they're getting bailouts from the Treasury Department, that means they're getting bailouts from the citizens. In the UK, that's the UK citizens. That's the UK taxpayers. So in America, when the Federal Reserve does it, the American citizens are going to be paying the tab. This whole decision is one bad decision after another. And the reason why these bad decisions keep happening is that there's no accountability. These people will never lose their jobs. There's no downside to making bad decisions for these people. But there is downside for us. We are going to pay the bill. Our taxes are going to go higher and our standard of living is going to go lower. We're not going to be able to buy a house. We're not going to be able to buy the cars that we want. We're not going to be able to afford the lifestyle that we want to live. Not through any fault of our own, but through the stupidity of the central bankers. Now, there's a lot more that I want to say on this topic, but in the spirit of respecting your time, let me make one final point. So in Australia, Good Morning Rob Russ, they have a brand new central bank president. Now in Australia, I believe they call that the Reserve Bank of Australia, right? The RBA. And as history would have it, she is the first female head of the RBA. Now you would think that she would want to make her mark in history, right? And try to make life easier for the Australian people, make life more affordable for the young people to buy a house. But hold on a minute. She has a much bigger and much more noble concern. She is far more concerned about climate change. Climate change will impact interest rates, incoming RBA boss says.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
There's a lot of lessons to be drawn from this story. One of them being that these people are not here to be your servant. They're not here to look out for your best interests. These are minions with an agenda, and their agenda trumps your interests. They are not public servants. They are servants to the woke mob. Another lesson to be drawn from this story is that the modern financial system it's a house of mirrors. It is fake. It is a fiat world of make-believe. They print money whenever they need it, and they take it from you whenever they want to. They play this shell game with bonds and interest rates and tax receipts. But in the end, their larger agenda is to keep you poor and to keep you subservient. God help you if you try to become wealthy. That's reserved for a privileged few, and they don't want you in the club. As much as you can, you have to extract yourself from the traditional monetary system. Reduce your exposure to your banks. Put as much money as you can into gold and silver, and establish streams of passive recurring income. You have to do whatever you can to preserve your sovereignty, because they are doing everything they can in order to subjugate you. I would love to have you in the Hey Ed WhatsApp community, so if you would like to join that, shoot me an email. My email will be in the description below. If you don't mind, please give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't. Ed Anderson, live from Minnesota, signing out.
Copy that.